a moment of silence. We all come here because we're very passionate about our community and want to make sure that we keep our streets safe for our pedestrians. Oh, whoops. Is it okay? So unfortunately, we did have an individual who passed away on our streets back on March 11th. Her name was Arlene Ocampo. She was a devoted mother and a caregiver, and she tragically passed away after being struck by a car. Her death has left a deep void in the hearts of her family and friends. She dedicated over 30 years of her life to caregiving, and she was known for her kind, loving nature and her passion for cooking and gardening. She is survived by her two daughters, Jessica, who's 33, and Jorica, who's 24. So we have our deepest condolences to the entire family. And now I'd like us to just take a quick moment of silence. Thank you. So now we will move on to item number 5, which is public comment. But before I do that, members of the public, since we have no one here, should I go ahead and read that?
Yeah.
Okay. So members of the public may speak on any item not on the agenda, and members of the public wishing to suggest an item for future commission agenda may do so during this public comment period. The Ralph Brown Act prohibits the commission from acting on any matter that is not on the agenda. Speakers are requested to fill out a request to speak card located on the table by the door and then hand it to the staff. The provision of a name, address, or other identifying information is optional. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes each, and the commission chair may adjust the time limit in light of a number of anticipated speakers. So with that, do we have any comments from the public that were mailed in?
Through the chair or vice chair, there was one and you have it in your packet. And as the current policy, we're no longer reading it, but you do have it. And it's very short.
That's right. Okay, so we only have one. So this is the only one that we have.
That's the only one.
Okay. All right. So now we will move on to item number 6, which is the discussion of action items. And the first one is item A, which is a proposal to implement a right turn only restriction at the westbound approach of Bellevue Avenue at El Camino Real intersection.
Okay. Vice Chair Couchy, as this is an item that we had previously brought to you, and we just wanted to bring it back to you just to tie it up, saying that we looked at a couple of the feedback that we had gotten from the community. So I'll quickly go through this one. It's pretty straightforward. Again, we just want to give you a quick update regarding the right turns only. Again, the history of it, of what we had tried to do before, we were talking about turning onto we'll call it a closed dead end, but the community didn't stand for that or wasn't supportive of that. So we went ahead with the right turn only. Again, that's the intersection of Bellevue, El Camino, and a big concern we're talking westbound traffic. And the big thing we have are those trees create a visibility issue for folks trying to exit out onto El Camino from Bellevue. Currently, there's no left turn restriction. However, as we talked a couple meetings ago, right turn only. So if you can see from the photo in the upper left-hand corner, we'll be having 2 signs on this side of El Camino, one above the stop sign, and there's another existing sign we'll place it on. We will also go back roughly mid-block. We'll add, as you can see by the dot here, we'll place another sign just to let folks know it's coming up. And then finally, at the first decision point, we'll have 500 feet ahead, which is roughly what it is. right turn must turn, so everyone's well aware of it. In addition, we'll have the pavement legends, two sets of them, one indicating at the point that it's left turn only, and then the other one, again, giving a person one more shot that if you want to do a U-turn in someone's driveway to go back around, this is your chance. The one thing, again, you had seen this slide previously, the one thing we are not implementing is we were going to put channelizers on that center line. And then talking with some of the folks and getting some of the feedback, yes, that driveway is utilized. Folks coming northbound on El Camino take the first right and then enter the driveway through there. So we've elected not to restrict that movement for now. We'll see what occurs, but I mean, that movement's been able to occur as is. So we don't see that there is an issue with that would change anything. So with that, this is just something we'll work with. Caltrans had no comments on it. We had contacted them, they never got back to us, but typically on some of these, we've contacted them and we've done the no left turn or yield to pedestrian signs that we've put up, they're fine with. So with that, we'll probably go back and we'll install the signs or quickly lay this out and have our corp yard or one of our contractors go ahead and lay this out. So any questions about the change? Or the proposal? Sure.
Can we go back a couple of slides and had a couple of quick questions? Oh, no.
Try this one.
Yeah, there you go. So on that first slide.
Yep.
Where I understand the sign on the left and that sign on the right, that's a right turn only. Is that going above the stop sign? Is that where it's going to be placed?
Yeah, and it's tough because in some ways, stop signs are unique. They don't want a lot of clutter on it, but this one is critical. So yeah, it'll go above it. It wouldn't go below it.
Just looks really tall for some.
Yeah, and that's part of it. That's why we've redundant. We've got the other sign there.
Okay.
Just for folks. But no, I agree. But actually, to the bottom of any sign, a street name sign, a speed limit sign, a stop sign, from the bottom of that sign to the ground, it's 7 feet. That doesn't change. You can't go any lower in case someone taller, not many people are 7 feet tall, but that's what it is. And so we'd have to go above. So thank you.
And then just the other question, I thought were we going to put a crosswalk?
Yeah, it was good.
At that
Right here.
intersection as well? A high density, just make them more visible at that intersection. I thought that was part of the conversation that.
You know, that I do recall that.
High visibility crosswalk was.
And that was one that we wanted to contact Caltrans on, but because I know potentially for the El Camino Real renewal project, a lot of this will be redone. And I'm sorry, I did forget that one. We will contact them and just make sure it's okay because it is their right of way.
Okay, that's all I had.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna ask the same.
Sorry.
On the current no left turn that's there that you can barely see, I'm assuming that's coming down.
It doesn't harm it because it's a further that you're not going to make that movement. And actually our yard, someone just vandalized it. They threw some paint on it, so they just cleaned it up. But I think we're going to leave that in because it's just something else. I mean, this is, I'll hopefully reinforce it, but we can't stop people we're trying to stop them, but
And would you anticipate to do the crosswalk and going back to Caltrain that will elongate the process of implementing this, or would you, do you need their approval in order to put the
I'm
crosswalk
going
in?
to double check because El Camino roughly there at the, when it goes around the right of way goes like this, and at the intersections, there's a little bit of it that comes into the street. So just to make sure that they're on board with that. But yeah, I was surprised that, I didn't get any feedback back from them, but
I guess if for some reason getting their approval would delay the implementation of these signs, I guess my recommendation is time is of the essence.
we'll
Yeah.
definitely do this because
Yeah.
regardless, even though it's not a marked crosswalk there, it is still a crosswalk. So the signs are, we'd still
Move.
feed with that without that.
Yeah, it's interesting because since this project came up and I'm new to the commission, I think like a week later, my husband was driving down and he's like, I almost got in an accident. I said, where? Bellevue and El Camino. And I said, what happened? And because I was telling him about, what we were doing here. And he said, well, somebody went straight across. So anyway, just a little
We're
community
taking care of it.
from my husband there. I don't know if that's public comment or not.
I have some questions too. Mr. Wong, in proportion, in the picture on the upper left-hand corner, the right turn only signs are bigger than what you would normally see. But, I'm sure you just did a mock-up, but are there options for size for right turn only sign?
There are.
So, because this might be a place where it might be nice and not to have the smaller rectangle
No,
signs, but the bigger ones that they sometimes
Yeah.
have it
no,
bigger.
these will be the size, I guess, roughly of a speed limit sign that you see. So it's
Okay.
18 by 30 or something like that.
Oh.
No, we wouldn't put a small one here. I mean, the whole point is
Yeah.
right turn only.
It,
So.
it's funny, but the size of the sign actually catches people's eye.
Yeah.
And then my only other question, other than I agree that the high visibility crosswalk was, would be really nice. And God knows when Caltrans ECR project's going to move forward. And, if it's going to be even a year, it's probably worth doing, who knows, if they allow us. I understand that part of it is in their right of way.
Yeah.
And then the last thing is this last sign, the 500 feet, right lane must turn right. I'm not crazy about it, the messaging. I think it could be more clear. There is only a right lane.
Yeah.
So is it possible to have a sign that says like all traffic must turn right at El Camino Real?
It would be a unique sign. I mean, it would have to be spelled out, and it probably wouldn't be, it would be like a white on green sign because it's kind of informational. The white on black, or sorry, the black on white is more of a regulatory. And what I can do is, rather than 500 feet, we could put a head or something.
Or right turn only 500, right turn only.
We can look at that. I mean,
Because if you see you're giving them advance warning, but then right lane, must turn right. People who may not realize, is there another street before El Camino where you have to turn
Yeah.
right? I just would like it to be a little bit more.
I'll check with the guys, and maybe something that I've seen, maybe underneath, we have this, and underneath, you can see the cursor underneath the sign, we can put at El Camino. So maybe that gives it, so it registers a little bit. There'd be another just informational sign underneath.
It can't say something like the right lane must turn right is like one option, but there's no option that says like all traffic must turn right.
There's not one there, but I'll take another look. It's not a common one. I'll put
It's
it that way.
Catalog, we can flip through
There is a
Better-
state has a catalog.
catalog.
We try to,
I would just really, really think we could do better,
okay,
the messaging, despite the limitations, and I do understand.
I'll take a look. I'll take another look, but yeah. And actually the California one is even more limited than the national one because maybe liability, but there's different things that we don't use that other states can use, but I don't think that's one of them, but we'll see what we can do. I'll take another look.
It's a good thing they don't give us color options.
The color will.
Pink.
Oh,
So, Mr. Wong,
yes,
was there any voting? or
nope,
anything?
just giving you an update. This has already been decided, so just wanted to let you.
Excited to see this back on.
May I ask one more question?
Absolutely.
Sorry.
Through the chair. Vice
sorry.
Chair.
That, will there be a arrow with the right turn only painted in the street as well?
Correct. That's what these are here, and only symbols. Sorry.
Thank you.
You have a lot of chances to get it right. If you get, the driver, if they get it wrong, they're really asleep at the wheel.
Okay,
Or they're used,
they did it purposely.
Yeah, yeah.
and that's the toughest part is breaking that.
It's breaking the habit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To that point, I know you did some things with sandwich boards on Hillside when that new stop sign was put up. And I do think that kind of,
Mhm.
because it was not your standard traffic signage, it did kind of catch your eye and let you know, okay, this is a change. Because I think anyone who drives through here, who doesn't drive through here very often, is going to see all those signs and know them. But the person who drives at all times not paying attention.
No,
Pilot.
absolutely. We do actually have that sign, and it's a temporary sign. So it's a black and orange sign
Yeah,
that says change conditions ahead.
Yeah.
So we put that up when we put up the stop signs, new stop signs. So I
it was
will-
nice.
I will, yeah, I'll make sure that's up too. So people it just, again, bringing attention to it again, for the people who've traveled this more often and are used to it.
And not really looking at the signage.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I know that sign. We have it in the yard, so we will get that up. This is installed. All right.
Okay.
Good job.
So are we ready to move on to the next item, which is 6B, the California Drive Class 1 Bicycle and Pedestrian Project.
All right. Thank you, Vice Chair Couchy. For, I guess, two of you now on the commission, we have presented this prior. And the reason we are representing, this is California Drive south of Oak Grove. Is for the benefit of the two new commissioners. And then at the end of this month, or in the first week in May, the meeting hasn't been solidified, but we will be going out to the community with this and showing this. So we just want to give you the preview. The only change to this for the commissioners who saw us before is that date. We didn't have a date prior to this week, I guess. So with that,
So I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that date is the date that you're going out to the public? Is
correct, we will be having a community meeting and we'll be noticing it soon.
Okay.
I think we're just still trying to figure out which room.
And that'll be the first
It'll be the
meeting.
yeah, that'll be the first meeting.
Thank you.
So the California Drive Class 1 Bicycle and Pedestrian Project. Goals that we have previously and will do tonight, again, present the commission with the potential concept. We found now that putting something that draws some attention rather than the blank slate, it ties people in. We get comments both either way, right? Positive support of it. And, we ratchet there, like, oh, people like this and we can move that direction. Again, we'll be using the feedback, using this to get feedback on the project. Commission, if you have some feedback tonight, you can provide some, but what we're also looking for that we did previously is feedback regarding the community outreach. If there's someone that we're not touching that's along this corridor specifically. So the background, we applied for and we received Measure A and Measure W funding for this project. The project is about almost a half a mile long. And what we're proposing is a Class 1 facility, and that's the facility that's removed from the street, like the Bay Trail. So not what we have on California currently, which is either a Class 4 or a Class 2 facility. Again, this will be a major north-south connectivity because it'll actually connect Millbrae Station with Burlingame Station. As you can see, the project is estimated to be about 1.8 million. Of that, we've received 1.6 was from a grant, and typically for the grants, there's a matching component, and we matched 10% of the project. As you can see from our bike ped master plan, California, this section of California Drive is one of the higher, might be, I mean, it's even. There was no 9s or 10s. The highest ones were 8.5. So one of the bigger concerns out of that bike ped master plan. And our lovely chart, we are now here. We're at the very beginning. So we've worked with our designer and tweaked the concepts you will see a little bit later. And we're here. So everyone's at the ground level, so to speak. Again, the section we're talking is from Oak Grove all the way to North Lane. So that mostly consists of the area where we have our sandbagging facility as well as part of the Caltrain parking lot. So if you've been out there, if you've gone through here and maybe if you've ridden your bike, but if you go northbound on California, actually just before right here where this first blue arrow is on the right, you actually can ramp up, bypass riding in the roundabout. And then where the second one is, it drops you back onto the road. So we actually have a section of what we were hoping to continue. And if you look again, hoping to bring that all the way from Oak Grove to North Lane. So rather than look at my crude pictures, we'll go to, as you can see, the nicer mock-ups that our design team has done. And, you know, we're approaching, like, we pick up from, if you look on to the left here on the top left.
Mr. Wong,
Oh, sorry.
interrupt, but this is really hard to see.
See if I can,
I don't know if you guys will be able to zoom in, but I mean, I wanted to
Sure.
do the slide prior to the meeting. I just couldn't see. So maybe if you, for those of us with older eyes.
Don't worry.
I don't think that's it.
Well,
It's
so what we'll
tiny.
do is we'll do this.
Okay.
Ooh, maybe not like that.
I just didn't want you to go through the whole thing and like me
Oh.
just
All right.
trying to figure out what you,
Okay.
So is that better?
yes.
So, sorry about that. Here's to where the cursor is. Hopefully you can catch that. Right here is sort of remnants of what we've, the tail end of the class 4 bicycle facility. It's not currently on California Drive. So the goal is to get you over to this corner, the southeast corner of Oak Grove and California. And then that's where this facility begins. So we've extended the class 1 facility, which is a 10-foot path along this side. So it can be used by both, being at 10 feet, it can be used by both pedestrians and bicyclists. And we're not proposing changing any of the lane configurations there because of capacity. Sorry. Yes. So this continues. Sorry, it's hard to
You manipulate.
do this when it moves it. So the 10-foot facility goes all the way, runs along California. And we've maintained the lane. So you have 2 lanes here. We maintain the two-way left turn lane. And we continue to maintain what's on this side. We have parking and we have the travel lanes. And I think a lot of this has been done, and I'll double check, but we've done you've heard road diet, where we go from multiple lanes to single lane diet. This is where we shave as much space as we can from some of the roadways. And we might be longer on the shoot. So probably, as you can see, it's standard, but maybe what's out there now is a little wider. Then, you know, maybe we all have 12-foot lanes out there. So we're able to pick up some, but we're also doing a lot of this work. And this is where the trade-off comes in. A lot of this work is being done in the Caltrain parking lot. So we're pushing back in the Caltrain parking lot. That's where we're picking up space.
And we can do that?
Well,
Oh, sorry.
that's part of this project as well, because as much as we use that section, it's actually owned by the, I believe it's the CPUC. And so, but we're working on an agreement with them because we've been using it. We're able to use it in ways that we can, because it's a parking lot now. So we're using it anyway. We want to extend it. And part of the roadway is actually in there. It's strange. The right of way is not straight through there. But yes, that's our goal, is to push back a little bit. And so let me back to this slide. Oh, this is it. So the bigger impact is, by doing that, we lose 41 parking spaces in that lot. Zoom back in if you'd like to be support this or not. I'll let you get. Okay. And again, it would continue along here, right where the existing facility is that we have now. Just match up again, probably widen, and then we get to here, and we'll talk more, but potentially some, again, those greenback arrows that go across here to link you to not quite the station, the parking lot of the station, but that's where we're trying to get you to now. And then but we're actually, per the grant, we stopped here because this is something even bigger. And we've just redone some of this and we'll see how it works in there. Maybe we have sharrows going through there or it's a dismount because you're essentially there at the station. So,
More importantly, the donut shop.
yeah,
The other car.
so.
So on this, are you looking for comments, questions?
No, just again, the public outreach, we're gonna reach out to business owners, property owners that we've done. We'll do the sandwich boards, we'll do mailings, the e-news. And then we'll also work with the DBID as well as the chamber to get the names of those folks. We'll make sure we get there, especially in Burlingame High, because that's critical for the Oak Grove component, just to let them know that there's an improved facility to get you through. And yeah, again, for tonight, it's important to know that the meeting's coming up. And as soon as I get that date, I'll let everyone know. So you guys hopefully can make it and clear your calendars. Put it on your calendars. With that, and again, tonight, just a presentation, just let the new commissioners ask questions, just like the,
Like,
and the old, and the original, the OG. commissioners have that.
oh, that-
So with that, that ends that presentation, but yes,
No,
I'm happy to take questions.
Okay. OG.
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 All right.
Oh, I am the only OG.
Right now you're.
All right,
Sure.
guys,
Uh-oh.
listen with respect. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just,
Strap in.
no. So, Mr. Wong, I have a lot of questions because the drawings are difficult to
Okay.
see. Your mock-ups were actually easier. Okay, the first thing was when this was first presented to us, there was a stretch where bikes, they were going to use the sidewalk where pedestrians only walk right now, and it was going to be bikes and pedestrians. And Chair Martos and I both were like, no way, that, we just cannot do that. That is, so what are we doing to work around that? Is that why we're taking a little piece of the parking lot so that we could push the bike path closer to the tracks and still is there still a protected sidewalk for pedestrians there?
Through the vice chair. So the Bay Trail is an example of a class 1 facility. It's roughly, it may be even shorter because it was done previous standards, but it should be 10 feet wide, right? And on the Bay Trail, you can have both joggers, you got pedestrians on there as well as bicyclists. So that's the way this would be wider than a standard. It'd be twice as wide as a standard sidewalk with a 5-foot sidewalk. So you're going to have the space. I mean, if you're thinking of just tons of bikes on here, that's something that you have to look at. But I mean, it's a class 1. It would carry this traffic, both bike and pedestrian traffic, the same way the Bay Trail does.
Okay,
So
so
it's definitely wider. It's
And what-
wider than what's out there.
original.
That's how it's accounted for, and that's the point of having a 10-foot wide class 1 facility to allow both.
Because originally I think we were talking about a regular sidewalk size.
No,
Hmm.
no, and it's on here. It calls it out as the class.
No, but I mean, the first time you.
Oh,
I don't think so.
I might have, if I did, that was an error.
Always been a class 1.
Yeah, I might have been an error if that was the case, but it's always per Commissioner Couch. That's what the intent was to make.
Okay, so, all right, so we have basically the equivalent of a Bay Trail now with 10 feet and bikes and pedestrians sharing the space. And we're taking away 41 spots from the parking lot. When we did our studies of the impacted parking in the downtown area, when we had to count all the spots that were empty and everything, was this lot fairly heavily utilized?
So this lot can be well utilized. It depends on the time of year, like Christmas time, it is full and on a Friday lunchtime, it starts picking up. But again, I think when we did some of this, we didn't have the parking structure downtown. And I know, and we've been able to utilize, there's still space in the parking structure. And we've been able to utilize it for certain other items have popped up in the community where we were able, okay, we can direct some folks to park there for temporary use. And so there is still capacity on it there. So I think the loss of the 41, but then again, it's a trade-off. If you're losing 41 parking spaces, you're providing a way for folks that don't have to park here to get there to, get downtown safely or something, right? So there's probably a little bit there we pick up as well, but I think we have capacity in the downtown.
Optimistic. No, if it were 25 spots, I'd be like, but just 41, is a significant amount of parking in an area that already has had issues that we've studied at length. So that's just a little,
And
I'm not saying it's a deal breaker.
sure.
It's just something that's a lot of spots to lose.
And I think and it'll come out of the public outreach. I think our approach will be, we want to maintain that 10-foot facility, right? We don't want to play with that because that's the standard. But then we'd look at what we can do to preserve parking. We're just not like, hey, we've got all this parking. Let's just, blow it all up.
So I thought about this in advance and one thing I just wondered if you had considered, rather than having the diagonal or head in, I forget whether it's diagonal or head in parking there, you might be able to preserve some spots if you allow parallel parking along the length of that, if there's enough room, but
Actually, it's the opposite. The parallel parking would take up more space. Go to angled parking, you're able to fit more.
no, I just didn't know if we'd have the depth, like,
Oh,
if we're stealing some of the parking, there may not be room for angled parking, but if you could maybe still have 20 spots with parallel parking, like we do, when you go over the train tracks at the donut shop and turn
Mhm.
right, that little island that we redid with the
Yes.
stop sign right there, and there's parallel parking on we did parallel parking along one side to make more room.
yes,
So I think we should see if there's
sure.
because then we can allay, if there is an outcry about loss of parking, we can say, well, we're saving X number of them.
No, and we'll even look at, I mean, it even changes. There's like 45-degree parking, obviously 90-degree is perpendicular parking. There's 60-degree and there's 45-degree. Each one of those, depending on how long of a stretch you have unbroken up, you can place more parking. At the 90 would be the most, but we wouldn't be able to do that because, again, the depth issue. But if we go to 60, which this may be, or 30, I mean, we're going to try to maximize it because we've already heard from our director that, yeah, we need to try to we need to change it, but not just turn it upside down. So we'll be continuing to look at opportunities to preserve parking.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I think you might be able to still squeeze some spots, not even half, but still. And then my last is, I see that it ends at the station, the bike path. That is such a hot mess place, for everyone. It's for pedestrians, for people pulling into that lot by the train station, for people trying to go to the high school, for people crossing. We've had 2 pedestrians hit there in the past, I don't know, like 4 years. I just wondered, has there been any thought to potentially having, instead of having that bike path end and cross over there, and we know we want to continue it to hook up with the San Mateo leg of things. Is there any thought to taking the bike path across the tracks and going on the quiet parallel street, and then rehooking back at Howard or something, just avoiding the whole Burlingame, California intersection and train station and letting them bypass it?
So just to clarify, you're just looking at the cursor here, where it ends here, rather than continue south or north, depending on, where you are, going this way on California to get you over here or to get you around sending all the bikes through here. You will have that opportunity because we do have another grant to talk about that one. That's a concern here because after here, as you know, the cross section, it gets narrower between Howard and Peninsula.
Yeah, very.
So that's a thought when we've had just kicking around that we won't be able to fit 2 bike facilities there, and maybe we have to do it. And I've been in meetings with the other agencies along they call it the Grand Boulevard Initiative, talking about El Camino Real. about doing improvements there. We're the ones that are ahead of the class because we actually will be doing it soon. So they're just talking like, what do we do? And some of the ideas are for the other agencies, like they have sections that they don't want to, they can't have bicycles on. And they're talking about using a parallel side street to get some off. And that should be part of this project, not just focusing on El Camino, but focusing whatever, maybe 500 feet to either side, just to look at things like that. So that's in our thoughts here as well
Yeah.
to
Just because that street only has a few business, on one side,
Yeah.
there's nothing. There's no driveways, no businesses. It's the train tracks. And on the other side, there's very few. I mean, it's just a couple large buildings and I don't even know that there are driveways. So it could be very safe,
divert
quiet
it
place
around.
to,
Yeah.
yeah, do a little, like, just a little,
Yeah, no, that's what, when we start that part, we'll get feedback from, yeah.
Okay.
What the current, what people do now, like the bicycle, the bicycle groups,
okay.
advocates.
Yeah, I just saw how it kind of just ended at that really messy parking lot. It's really dangerous section and was just thinking about that. Okay, those are my questions.
Jennifer?
That was mainly that intersection of it stopping and what happens for the biker after that. In terms of where do they pick up again? What does that feel like? Is there a way for us to divert that that's not on California? And again, it may not be able to be part of this particular project and proposal, but something I think will come up. I know having 3 kids, having gone to BHS, very familiar with that intersection, and I try to avoid it as much as I can.
It's
Just but you already know that, so.
None?
Any questions? Vice
I
Chair?
I don't actually have any questions, but just I'll repeat some of the things I said last time you presented this, just so the new commissioners could hear. So I really do see the benefit of the road diet that happened between Oak Grove and Carmelita. So I'm still a proponent for the road diet happening from Oak Grove to Peninsula. Because once you hit San Mateo, it's 3 lanes, and once you hit Oak Grove, it's 3 lanes. So to me, we've created confusion by having this 3/4 a mile that is 4 lanes. So I think keeping consistency and also gaining the benefits that we saw of the road diet on Oak Grove. I like the class 1. I don't have a problem with class 1, but I do think a road diet in this section would give us similar benefits that we had north of Oak Grove. Then the other thing I would comment is if it can't be a part of this, it would be interesting to see if there's any way to do a connection on Oak Grove to Caroline, because there's a bike lane on Caroline. And if we could somehow, because they have to go over those tracks. And I know there's quite a few young kids who go over those tracks because they go to the McKinley, is it McKinley, that school that's right there?
Mm.
Yes.
It can
Yeah.
be on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we could help with that would be nice. And then the third one is I would like to see the connection to Howard, since there's a bike lane on Howard. So connecting
Yeah.
that bike lane helps provide a nice connectivity to the downtown, both downtowns and the train stations. But on this note, completing this, I think, is going to be huge. I think allowing bikers to now have that connectivity from the Millbrae train station to downtown, as well as connecting our 2 downtowns, I just think is a significant accomplishment. And then my only other concern on the workaround is, well, one, I really do want to see a road diet on that street. Like those 4 lanes are just, it's so tight and so many cars, side mirrors get knocked off on that street every day. So I think it needs less lanes and more room. But the workaround is going to be tough because I think you're still going to have bikers are gonna say, there's my straight path to the San Mateo bike lane, so zigzagging around, it's gonna be tough to get people to actually use that, unfortunately. So that's it. Those are my comments. I don't, anything new. You've heard that.
No, and just through the chair, just we talked about the road diet. When we did the roundabout, we did study, because ideally you'd have a single lane roundabout. It's easier for people to digest, right? As far as one car coming in, you yield to it. But we found that we were concerned with the queuing there, especially with the tracks nearby. And so that was the reason that this section, even though we reviewed it, we went with keeping the capacity of the roadway just so we don't queue up, especially with the tracks at between Carolyn and Oak Grove, or Carolyn, California on Oak Grove. So that was one why we didn't, there was that one. And
So wait, can you bring that up just so I can understand what you're
so
explaining?
the concerns were, if we were to drop this all to one lane, a single lane, that we'd start, because you lose capacity, right? Right now you can put, what is it? Well, you can put, each lane can carry so many thousand vehicles per hour, things like that, but you start shaving that, then you funnel it into one or two lanes, and then that backup, especially when the trains are coming, that backup could be significant here. That's what we,
Do we have issues with the backup on coming south and crossing over?
coming south, crossing over.
So we have the road diet north of this.
Correct.
So do we have issues with cars crossing over that same intersection but coming the other direction where the road diet?
It goes back to 2 lanes before it gets there, doesn't it?
Yes, when you get to Oak Grove, it does open up, but we also have that stretch where most people aren't making, the heavier movement here is that northbound right crossing the tracks or going towards the school or going towards Carolyn. Coming the other way, except for the, school, you're going to find that southbound left on from California onto Oak Grove is only heavier that time. And again, we meter it with a signal, but with that right turn, it makes it difficult because you can make a right turn on red. You can't make a left turn on a red. So that's constantly being filled up. Even with that, folks are, it's cute. I mean, you look at Broadway, California, right there, that heavy movement there, the right turns are big because everyone's trying to get to the highway. They're doing it here too, because they're trying to bypass Broadway, get onto Oak Grove and Carolyn.
To go to the highway?
Go to the-
Yep.
So that was just to trying to address the one about the road diet. We'll still probably end up looking at it, but that was the concern why we didn't do it for the roundabout for sure. And again, that's a question we will take not on necessarily on this project, but the next one, that right there from Howard to Peninsula, that last section, because that even gets narrower. Those are, you've all driven it, that those are narrow. And even if we did some things there, it might just be enough to get you the standard lane, but that's going to be a huge discussion because obviously we've seen the discussion with parking removal,
Mhm.
and that's something we know that's critical to those businesses there, but we're going to go through it at some point. So we will have to go through that exercise and we'll see where it lands.
It'll be interesting.
So it will.
There will be pitchforks.
And anyway, so that's it. So that's our outreach we plan to do. I mentioned that. And yes, we'll get you when that meeting is, but now you are all equally educated on this, and then you'll see what the rest of the community feels. So,
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
all right.
Andy, can I ask one last question? It's teeny weeny, but originally when you presented this, we hadn't talked about grabbing a little space from that parking lot, right? This is a change.
No,
Oh.
through
We
the
had?
chair. No, we have, because we're trying to clean that up a little bit too, and the ownership of that, because there's a whole, they have property, we have property that they're using, so we're trying to
Ah,
balance it all out. So that discussion was always part of it.
okay, thanks.
All right, so now we will move to item number 7, informational items. The first one is public comment related to informational items. Do we have any public comment? Okay, Jim, no. What about community updates? Community group updates, any? Assume no. And now we'll go to the engineering division reports.
All right. Thank you. We just got a couple. And actually, there's actually one more I'll add. Oh, I could add two more just to give you a brief. Burial Way traffic calming. We're going to meet with the community. Well, I found out I couldn't have a room the end of this month. So we're trying to have a community meeting with them rather than meet out in the field. It was thought that we'd bring everyone and do a little presentation with the city of San Mateo. So at some point, probably in the first or second week of May, we'll have a meeting. It's just a little traffic calming on the border. We were going to show them the data, show them the, both volume, speed, collision data, and then talk about possible options. Just for you folks, we'll probably then bring it back to the Traffic Safety Parking Commission. We're going to do something a little different before that because we're working with San Mateo. They send out a survey or a petition, or not a petition, a survey where they want to know. It's similar to our residential parking permit program. They want to see how many people on this block are supportive of it. And then there's actually one, they have to send it in. They have to get so many people sending them back in order to make it valid. And then of that sent it in, a percentage of those helps determine whether it's going. So I'm curious on how this one is. So San Mateo is working with us. So we'll do that, but we'll present those results at a future meeting here. So
And Mr. Wong, is that because a portion of this is in San Mateo?
yes, same
How much?
half.
Half? Oh,
Center line, the center line separates it.
Looking on the map.
Just like Peninsula, just like Murchison. So,
Yeah, it's a big, long.
yeah. And the section we're looking at is west of Occidental is
It-
primarily what we're looking at, although we'll see what comes out of the meeting.
so since we're doing this with them, does it have to go through approvals to both cities?
No, I mean, I think that we're going through their process, which is the surveys. So when we present it here, we'll be inviting folks from San Mateo and Burlingame to be here. So I think we're trying to do it as efficiently as possible
Okay,
by combining it. And then I don't think they necessarily,
they're not in San Mateo.
correct.
Okay,
Because I'm not sure if they actually report this back to the commission. They just might take the results of the survey and go forward. So here we're covering both sides, but it'd be, maybe something we move forward with mailings or something to try to get that. So
assuming we're splitting the costs as well.
we haven't talked about that yet, but we're working on a lot of things. The next item, Peninsula and Dwight.
Oh, can I ask a quick question?
Oh, sure.
Mr. Wong, I might have missed the meeting or whatever when this was discussed, but the Barrelay, what brought that to our attention that needed some
It's,
work?
well, so similar to, actually, Hillsides, we've programmed funds for doing improvements. This one, we haven't programmed anything yet. So we're going to find out what the options are and where the community lies on it. And then we'll go, but it was calls from the residents there. We met out there with them. And so it was kind of, organic. It wasn't,
Mainly
project.
amount and speed of traffic.
it was more speeding concerns.
Mhm.
Was what did it. The volumes aren't at it's not troubling or it's not excessive of what that roadway should handle. And the data is pretty clear. We've used 2 counters and we saw the direction that the speeds are coming in. So
Was the speeding significant?
it was in one direction. And
Okay,
going on the Burlingame side, going uphill, it's lower than 25 miles an hour. But on the other side, San Mateo going downhill, it was slightly higher. It's like 32 miles an hour, but there was definitely a difference between the two. So
the reason I'm asking is that just, when we're on Teaspoon, sometimes these projects will come up to us and I find it helpful to know, why has this just been brought to our attention? What is the impetus and what have you found? And then sort of just let us know a little bit of thinking behind it. Not that I'm questioning you, I just, it's more meaningful for me to know why
Well,
we're
and
talking
this one,
this issue,
and this one comes to light because again, there's a third party, if you want to call it that, normally it's us and the public. Here we have San Mateo also weighing in, and we've been having monthly meetings with them. And we're continuing them. And if there's anything, the next item where we started having those meetings, we've been getting together, and then anything that pops up between both our radars. Because again, we've been working with them on some things, the peninsula, there's rapid flashing beacons that have been installed. We worked through them, but it was just like, hey, we got a request for this, we got funding, and we worked together and we got it. But now that we share the border and lots of things are coming up, so it's been beneficial. But the second item, if we're done with Peninsula Dwight, again, we've implemented some changes. The next change that we're going to implement are putting up vehicles must yield to pedestrians especially making them right turns. There's going to be signs there. And we're fabricating them. It's our yards fabricating them. And then the folks at San Mateo, because they maintain that signal, they're going to go ahead and put it up, which is great because our lift truck is out. So it'll get done sooner. Yes, and then the other thing that San Mateo is working on, they changing some of the signal timing, whether it's split phasing it, so it's a little better for the pedestrians and drivers can anticipate it a little better. It's not like right now, if you're making left turns, you have to and make your left to opposing traffic. So some people are trying to, I see the gap and go, and maybe, they're not looking there and there, they're only looking there. So there's things we're doing. We're considering a ped scramble, and maybe we're similar to San Francisco where the peds just cross, right? They get one, but then at other times they're not able to cross. Like if they've got green, you're not able to cross at that time. You'll get your own, or like I said, split phase, things like that. They're looking at, and they will review, and we'll see where we go from that.
San Mateo, I believe lighting was something that the citizens who came to one of our meetings after there was that fatality at that, I believe they said, lighting could be improved. Is San Mateo talking about adding any street lighting at that crosswalk?
I'll add that. We hadn't discussed that because I think we hadn't gone over that. So I can bring that to your attention. We could take a look. And if I remember, I can swing through there on the way home to see what the lighting is at this time.
And then one more clarifying question, Mr. Wong. When it said turning vehicles yield to pedestrian, you said that is when they're making a right. Is that because they're on Delaware and they're making a right on Peninsula?
Either way, both way. If you're coming from Dwight or you're coming from Delaware, anyone making a right turn
It'll be on both sides.
it'll be on both sides.
Hmm.
The couple other things that it's not on here, but I'll give you quick. Murchison Davis Truesdale presented to the council on Monday. They supported staff's recommendations for all 3 streets. So we will be going into the design for Murchison being a buffered bicycle facility. We'll be doing the traffic calming edge lines, bulb outs, high visibility crosswalks, and other signs along from the entire stretch from Albemarle to Casada on Davis. And then just that small section between El Camino and California, we will be putting in the class 2 facility there. And they did mimic many of your concerns of having the transitions onto California. And so we will be going through that, laying that out as well. So thank you for your time on that one. They appreciate it. And the last one I'll give you, just because it was mentioned earlier, El Camino Real renewal. Much as I think I mentioned last time, it was put back. And now that it's come back this way, maybe not as soon. So it's a pendulum. We've been talking with them on some pet improvements, but apparently it's gone the other way, but we'll find out a little bit more and I'll let you know. But again, literally it's changing every meeting. So, but we're continuing to push them on it. So with that ends the engineer's report. Any questions? Any other
Thank
questions?
you.
All right.
And now we will move to item D, Police Department reports.
Good evening, everyone. So for the month of March, there were 9 total collisions to report. I was hopeful. When I was putting this report together towards the end of the month, there was only 6, but then we had 3 kind of on the last day of March. So would have been less, but 9 total to report. Per usual, hit and run collisions caused by DUI were filtered out, do not appear on this report. Unfortunately, this month, there is an exception to that, as the unfortunate fatality collision involving Miss Ocampo. We had the moment of silence for earlier. Very nice. Was a hit and run collision. 5 collisions were with other motor vehicles. 2 collisions were with a fixed object or other object, and then 2 collisions involving pedestrians, one of which was a fatal injury. Most common collision factors, which we often see, were right-of-way violations, unsafe turning movements, and unsafe speed. 2 involved drivers turning left on a highway, 2 involved speed. 1 involved entering or crossing a roadway. 1 involved failing to yield to a pedestrian in a crosswalk. 1 unsafe turning movement, and 1 running a red light, which was the case with Miss Ocampo. That was a situation where she was crossing south crosswalk on Truesdale at El Camino in the early morning hours. It was still dark, and the motorist was traveling south on El Camino, sped up, ran a red light, and unfortunately struck her in the crosswalk. You mentioned lighting. I don't think lighting was the issue at this intersection. When we spoke to the driver, he indicated that he did have trouble seeing at night. I think that might have been more of a him thing as opposed to a lighting thing, in my opinion, at that intersection. But lighting was a factor in that case. There's another injury collision that involved kind of what we tend to see on El Camino, which was a failure to yield to motors going straight. We had a driver that was attempting to turn left onto eastbound Ray from southbound El Camino, failed to yield to a motorist that was traveling northbound in the number 2 lane of El Camino, approaching that intersection, resulting in minor injuries. Our other vehicle pedestrian involved a pedestrian on the 1400 block of Burlingame Avenue. There's a crosswalk there, connects, it's kind of by Sapore, it's in mid-block. It was raining that day. The pedestrian was crossing from the south to the north. Her attention was diverted to oncoming traffic on eastbound Burlingame Avenue, and she continued walking while she was observing the traffic coming towards her eastbound and failed to see a truck going westbound. And it was kind of a combination of things, whereas the pedestrian looking this way, walking north, failing to see the motor vehicle traveling west, and then the motorist traveling west, looking for parking, and then his vision being obstructed by the A pillar, which is this pillar right here, which can sometimes, just at the right moment, obscure view of a pedestrian. And so luckily, the motorist was traveling at a slow speed, and it only resulted in minor injuries. But that's what happened with that one. And that was actually late reported as well. They didn't call us at the time.
And it was in the crosswalk
Yes.
right there by
Yes.
Sapore.
Yeah. Right as the pedestrian entered the westbound portion of the crosswalk. Another injury collision we had involved the vehicle into the building. Didn't have anything to do with any roadway condition, as far as I could tell in reading the report. The driver attempting to park in a stall on Howard between Park and Lorden and mistakenly pushed the gas pedal instead of the brake pedal and went into the building. We see these happen from time to time. Reminds me of when I got hired in 2008, we had the Molly Stones incident.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was that type of collision factor, mistaking the brake and the gas. So that happened again this month. Lucky just into a building and only resulting in minor injuries. And another injury collision we had was somewhat interesting. It's the first one I've seen pop up since I've been in traffic, was a driver automation. We had a Tesla that was being operated using the automated driver, and the destination was here on the left, and it made that left-hand turn sooner than it should have and was unable to avoid a collision. This was on Magnolia at Plaza. The Tesla was driving north on Magnolia, and there was another Tesla that was driving south on Magnolia, and the Tesla that was driving north was in automation mode and began to turn left end of the driveway at 1825 Magnolia prior to, and then struck the side of the other Tesla. So resulting in a minor injury.
So I have an older 2016 Tesla, but I thought that Teslas were still only allowed to use automated driving on highways and not surface roads. Does anyone know?
Not to my knowledge.
I've only been in them on the highway.
Yeah,
Used automated.
yeah,
And only one time because I told them not to do
yeah,
it.
agreed. No, it would be interesting to know because it was my understanding that it was not available surface street for these types of reasons. Yeah.
To my knowledge, the technology that they have will work on surface streets. So, as was the case in this incident.
Could I ask a couple questions? The fatality, you said that the driver did not see the pedestrian, and it sounds like it was still dark. But did you also say that that was a red light was run? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And then it's incredibly sad. And then the other thing I wanted to ask you, I don't recall if it was in March or if it just happened in the first few days of April, but there was a car that struck one of the big eucalyptus on El Camino, and I happened to just be driving right past at the time. Is that something that we'll hear about next month? Okay.
Yes, that occurred a few days ago, and unfortunately, it did result in a major injury. And we're investigating that still. Matter of fact, it's on my to-do list for tomorrow. But
Is-
she, as far as I know, she survived, but we haven't had a chance to interview the driver yet because she was taken away due to her injuries. But some witnesses had indicated that stopped traffic northbound El Camino prior to south of Adeline. And it's one of those situations where if you've ever been stopped in traffic, maybe on the freeway, and then you look up and you see a car behind you that hasn't realized that traffic is stopped yet. So while it's unfortunate what happened to the driver, it sounds like it could have been a lot worse. It sounds like the driver at the last second realized, oh my gosh, I need to avoid this collision, and veered the car into the eucalyptus tree.
It was quite a lot of damage. So I'm glad to hear that there were no fatalities.
No,
It was pretty impressive.
yeah, it was, yeah. Spare some of those details, but yes, it was a bad collision. But I can further report on that next.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Thanks.
I will say the pattern though of all our pedestrians in the crosswalk. It continues to be a pattern. All right, so now we go on to the next item, which is Chair Commissioners Communications, which that would be for me. I do not have any. Does anyone else have any communications? Nope. All right, so now we go into committee reports. And first, let me ask if there's any public comment related to committee report. Looks like no. So Commissioner Israelit on Hillside Drive Safety and Traffic. Is there any?
Due to me having COVID and my co-committee person being across the ocean, the pond, and we haven't, but I think it would be a good idea, Mr. Wong, if we could meet with you and Syed, if the four of us could meet sometime in the very near future, just to go over where we stand.
Okay.
Okay.
And through chair, if you want to do it in the near future, our director is away now. He's off. So if we can, the three of us can do it.
Yep.
Okay. When does Syed get home, back?
Couple weeks. I think he left today.
Oh,
So.
wow. Nice. Okay. Yeah, we can have three of us. That's no problem.
All right, so now we'll go on to the next one, which is the key performance indicators. And that is myself and Commissioner Brown. I can report that we've met several times. We're meeting at least once a week. And our plan is to present at the next teaspoon meeting in May.
May.
What comes after April?
May.
May.
In May.
We'll bring you flowers.
I can report that I am learning an awful lot through this process, and still have some questions, but I hope I am not slowing down, Vice Chair Fauci,
No, no,
in the
no,
process,
no.
because it's a big learning curve trying to understand classes versus, but it's been very interesting. I've driven a lot of trails today, so a lot of trails recently, so it's been really good.
Get your steps in.
It's been fun.
It's
too.
been great, yeah.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. Be sad. Taking over.
We'll get it done, but it'll be good.
All right, now we can go to the next one, which is the El Camino Real renewal.
Well, that's the one that's the most exciting one because we don't are or if we're not, if we will or if we won't. So I hate to disband it if we're needed, in the near future, but we'll sit tight until we hear.
But I would say we know for sure it's happening.
Yes,
Don't know when it's happening.
right,
Okay.
exactly. It is definitely going to happen.
Do we, Mr. Wong, know what is causing the uncertainty in the timing? Is there anything specific?
Well, I mean, part of it, we have two big agencies and we're not we're the third. There's PG&E and there's Caltrans trying to work together. So that's part of it. But no, I mean, it's just, yeah, they're used to working their right away. They have other things. So, I think a big issue is that's brought up at council is there's easements that run people's front yards that are actually in their right of way. So trying to address that, but maybe they've turned the corner on that, but that I know that was a big sticking point.
Okay.
I'm sure there are a lot of attorneys involved.
Yeah.
Is there a way for the public to exert some will that might provide some voice to accelerate the project? And I don't mean that towards the third party
No.
in the room. I mean more towards a lot of the public that they don't know who the levers that are in motion here. And I get regular comments, as I'm sure we all do, about what about El Camino? What about El Camino? And I don't know if there's where you might advise that they direct that, because I think the more pressure, if people are coming to us and they're asking about El Camino, where do I send them?
Well, I'll try to address that on the once you're done item number 9, agenda item number 9. We can want to get to there
Is that the future agenda item?
under future agenda items.
Was that a little teaser?
That's a little.
These are, I think,
So
planted by me. Yeah.
Wow.
we've been trying to get Caltrans to do be here to make a presentation. So they'll give us a little bit more detail. So we're trying to shoot for that. I mean, I have here August, but we'll see what we can do because
Okay.
they need a bit of lead time on it, but we want to know like when we're close enough to construction or getting closer and then be able to get more of that feedback. It's a balance. Otherwise it starts too early and then,
Right. And there can be,
so we're trying to find that ground. So August looks like it might be it.
Okay.
And again,
hopefully they'll tailor that to us who are already fairly informed. I don't want them to start with that same slide deck that says, this is why we have to do this project, you know. I hope.
And they may, because, I mean, try not to make it a long presentation, but yeah, we'll try to, but though, I mean, for you folks, definitely the ones on the subcommittee, you know,
Mhm.
or you have a good inkling. So, but they're trying to make sure they reach out to the other folks as well, because some folks still may not know. I still get calls like, hey, I hear that this right of way issue is like, oh, okay, well, this was something that they should be talking to you about, but it's new news to them. So they'll probably do it, and we'll just tell them like, oh, maybe you can, briefly go over that rather than in detail, because I think people want to know more of the schedule. And I'm not sure they're gonna be able to show you what it looks like, but we're not doing a road diet or anything like that. So they're gonna be able to say where the improvements are occurring, things like that. So
Do they have a public forum in the same that we do here for public comment or
they're a little different. You can contact, they have a public information officer. If you go on the their project website, it's on there, and we've directed some folks to that.
The
I
project
can't remember.
good, has good schematics.
I'm all about the squeaky wheel
and-
No.
between now and August.
So there's that, and then I understand that you'd like to try to bring the key KPI to the May meeting, so we can look at that. A couple other things, we can get something together to show Hillside, just to show those improvements, but we'll talk to you on that. Well, this might be just a quick one, but we can give you an update on the speed cushions on Carmelita, specifically the bike boulevard. So we'll have I think we have addressed or not addressed it, but we're in the process of addressing it. So we'll see what we end up on the May meeting, but those are definitely the items that we are looking at. Oh, so there's another one. Vision Zero, I was just informed this evening, would like to be on that agenda. So I will have to talk to, I'll have to talk to folks and see what we put on there.
They'll come present.
I thought they just started, like, I thought John Martos is on that and
Yeah,
They-
they've had a meeting,
a meeting.
and I literally just got the email today saying they want to be, there's something they want to be on there. So I don't know the details of that. I just,
Oh, okay.
It might be a way too to get just information out to the public about the project itself.
yeah, I'll find out a little bit more, but yeah, maybe if it's just outreach to the community and they want to use this as the forum, I'll find out more.
All right.
Okay.
Are there any other suggestions for
Um,
future agenda?
the Rollins project, is that coming up again anytime soon?
God, North Rollins or South Rollins?
North, sorry. Yeah.
It will right now. The only update I'll be able to give you is I know that the design team we've been having Zoom meetings with either business owners or property owners all in to get feedback. So we're just continuing that and get more of that. So just because that meeting was slightly attended, but they also have done their homework and have been working with folks. So at some point, yes, it will come back. And with
All right, with
That's
that,
it.
I think we're looking for,
I attended the meeting actually about Hillside Drive. I thought there would be more than public comment. I thought there'd be more public comment.
Well, we did, to follow, we had a certain place, but you're here. I think we'd love to hear what you have to say, so
Where is
it's fine. So you want to give public comment on Hillside? Okay.
Okay.
Comment
okay, chair's discretion. Call it just, yeah.
to your colleague the other couple days ago.
Okay.
So, the stalker got hauled away today from Hillside Drive. I came in the other day to ask about the stalker and the purpose of it, and was there data collection associated with it? It's parked right across the street from our house, and turns out it's just a sign, and today it left. But all the problems that are related to Hillside Drive remain, and both sides, I live on Hillside, both sides on streets on either side of us, Easton and Adeline, are all speed bumped up. And those speed bumps are going to remain. Hillside has driven traffic, from those streets to Hillside, probably also, we get a lot of traffic. And, it's kind of disturbing because there doesn't seem to be anybody watching it. A lot of honking, people angry, trying to get down the street, when people are trying to pull out, like we are right on Columbus and Hillside. So that's maximum velocity for the street. So people are really trying to get out of the way of the cars that are trying to get east. And, I have a lot of thoughts about this. They're not organized in the way that you people would like to hear, and I could do that, but I just dropped by today because I asked a couple of days ago about the stalker. And somebody is working on Hillside. I wonder what's the plan is, because the neighbors, I took a poll 10 years ago from the neighbors, what they thought, and it wasn't as bad then. But, a stop sign would be kind of severe for some people. It's block. Speed bumps, I don't know if Hillside Drive could handle speed bumps, but I don't know what you're working on, but something has to be done because people's animals, 2 cats, I've had overtime, ran over, okay. People's dogs have been hit, kids on bikes, which are cool, they have their e-bikes, but I just look at them. I am by trade an ER nurse, San Francisco General Hospital. I was the rep for all the meetings up there, down at the MS, and I've been through the grinder up there. I didn't get involved down here, but I might. I just don't know when something, it's amazing to me that nothing really has been done about that quarter mile, which is like, a speed run. No, nothing. And so what? It's legal, right? There's no stop sign. So if you're not monitoring the speed of traffic, and you can't do that 24 hours a day, what are we supposed to do? People are running for their lives across the street. And
So
so what do you got?
just so you know, we do a limitation of 3 minutes, just so you know.
I'm done.
But what I would say is if you want to leave your name, it will help put in the minutes. We cannot comment because of the
Right.
Brown Act, but
There's-
there will, if you paid, watch out for future agenda items. I believe we talked about Hillside will be in a future agenda item.
I was here for one of those meetings where a lot of people showed up.
Yep.
They were concerned, trying to cross with their kids. So I didn't see much at that one. So the suggestion would be to sign up
Yeah.
for the next, or come to the next meeting.
I'll get once the meeting ends, let me talk to you. I'll let you talk to you what's going to happen.
Okay.
So I need someone to motion for,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you
Thank
very much. Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
I think you just adjourn it.
Yeah.
If we have to-
I don't need a movement.
No, you can use your gavel.
All right. All right. Meeting adjourned.
Yay.
Nice job.
So I feel this way. I'm sitting here smiling.